Hi viewers, welcome to the show Milestone, hosting me Lavanya. In our show, we have always been seeing people who have run through the path of achievement. What is achievement? Before getting into the stone of achievement, you need to get into success, you need to get into failures, you need to get into efforts and more of hard work. What is hard work? It is not that you need to do hard work, it is that you need to do work that lead to hardness. Okay, what is failure? Failure is the first and the last stepping stone of success, and people who have went through all this will only lead for an achievement. And today's show also we are going to see somebody who has went through all the hardship of success, and today he is with us with all his happiness and all his efforts. He wants to share it with us. Let's go to the show and see who he is. Today we are going to meet a Colombian director who was brought up in Colombia. His name is Hugo. Hugo started his career at Colombia, later finished his PhD in philosophy. Once with that, he then traveled to USA to finish his MFA at Temple University, which in turn traveled him to become a theatre artist, followed by a filmmaker. Filmmaker later traveled his passion to become a director. Director, not just a director, who has been so successful in getting so many awards at motion pictures. Today we're going to meet him in person. Let's go.
Hi to everybody at Trash TV, to all the youngsters who are watching us. And well, I'm a person who is very much interested into art, into cinema, into learning. And I'm from Colombia. And thanks to the will of the universe, I have been able to travel all around the world, finally coming here to India, which is the greatest spiritual country of our generation, of our age.
¿Será que las señoras tienen chocolatinas?
No creo que nos alcance.
Sí, a la orden.
Una libra de costilla. ¿Me hace el favor? Sin gordo.
Carne de segunda siempre viene con gordo, dígaselo a su mamá. ¿Y ahora qué va a colgar?
Los disfraces.
Estamos en septiembre.
Beatricita, con este vestido te verías como campanita.
Es muy lindo.
Para usted tengo esta.
Colombia was a country in conflict. Still we have a conflict there. And my education was in Bogota in a time of political debates. It was the times of the fall of the Soviet Union. And I studied social communication. I was going to be a journalist. But since journalists, they used to be killed at that time in Colombia for whatever they were saying. There were many tragical deaths. I decided, well, I better try something else. I decided to move to art. And I was working in theater. And finally, the violence persuaded me that it was better to move away from the country. And I went to the US and I studied cinema. In the US, I worked with many international people, and I decided to make an adaptation of Hamlet. That finally is Hamlet Unbound. That was the beginning of the digital age. I'm talking of 1997, 1998. And at that time, I realized that cinema was going to move in that direction. So I decided to make a long feature film with a small camera. We finished the production, but at the time the technology was not good enough to edit it. So we have to wait for many years. In the meantime, I went to work in Portugal. I got a job at the Universidad Católica Portuguesa, teaching also cinema to students, to the new generation of the European Union. It's very sad that now they are into trouble, because at that time it was a dynamic time. People were very happy, very optimistic about their future. And I was part of their adventure at that time, helping them to shape their creativity, their expressions. Then I went to England, because I got married, and my wife, ex-wife, she got a position there. So I moved to Manchester. In Manchester, I was teaching Spanish and also acting for students at the universities of Salford and Manchester. It was a great time also in England. And it was a very rainy city. That was the only problem I have with this northern part of England. Then I moved to Kyrgyzstan, Bishkek. It was after September 11. They were looking for scholars for a project of the Soros Foundation. I was there for 1 year almost. It was an experience that I wouldn't call the best, because they had the legacy of the Soviet Union, and there were many racial tensions, and they tried to identify me as a person with Turkish background. And at the end, it was good because of the learning of the culture and all that, but also the corruption of the country was very much rampant, and it was affecting the university too. To the point that after I left, 1 year after, there was a crisis at the university, and 2 years later there was a coup d'etat, and the president fell down because of accusations of corruption. It was a very interesting chapter.
The point is, like, every director has his own social responsibilities in today's society. What do you think that your films, your creativity has given an impact to the society today?
I would say about the Vedas that they say you should follow your own blessing. This sentence was very much in fashion in the West because of Joseph Campbell, and he had took it from the Upanishads. So I always really believe into this, which was very similar to many biblical passages in which they were always telling you you should be following the mission that God has given you in life and not paying attention to what the world is giving to you or is telling you to do. Funny enough, even Nietzsche, who is a philosopher, his concept of the Superman is really a concept of someone who doesn't pay attention to society but follows his own blessing. And so, as I was young, I had the fortune to meet some professors who were insisting in this theory, and I was really going into this direction, not paying attention to, let's say, worldly issues such as politics and economics, which are always, I would say that those are the considerations that always stops or kills the soul of a creative mind. Because creativity really has to deal with the spirituality. It's an impulse, an ethereal impulse that enters into the soul of the poet that tells him or tells her, you should tell what you feel. And that's what the youngsters should follow if they have that call. The question is, are you ready to fight for it? Are you ready to be consistent for that? For that you need faith. That's the element of religion. That's the element that I think India is so rich about.
De vampiro. Ábrala. De todas maneras la voy a colgar.
Es grande.
Tan linda.
¿Cuánto valen?
A 4.000 pesos cada una.
Ya. Gracias, pero no tenemos plata ahora.
Se afane, Fabián. Ahorre, falta un mes. Y si se lo llevan, pues traemos otros para ustedes. Son 4.500.
200.000 pesos de una rifa. ¿Y cuántos puestos compró?
3.
A 4.000 pesos el puesto. 12.000 pesos. O sea que una desconocida le sacó lo del mercado.
Era un sacrificio, Germán. Era para pagar el funeral de su hija.
Dios.
Necesitaba...
I will say that one of the main reasons also for why I came to India is because I have had spiritual visions or spiritual experiences. Some scholars, they call them mystical experiences. And I'm very much a person who pays attention to these calls, spiritual calls. You can call them also psychological calls. I will say to my colleagues in the West who are very skeptical, I tell them, well, so it's my internal divinity, it's my internal mind that has come to a degree that finally it creates all this wonderful light telling me what should I do, what should I follow. And that's what I have done always. Everything that comes to my life, I'm happy to receive it. And that's what I did. The opportunities that came to me, I followed them because I was interested on them. But and that is like a guide. Even if you call it an internal meditation, or if you call it an external God that comes into your life, whatever you want to call it, that's your light, and that's what we should follow. And that's what's really can give us happiness, as long as you follow it in a path of goodness and understanding and overall conciliation. About your point out, why did I come into art? I had a mystical experience in which I was dreaming with the Ninth Symphony of Beethoven. It was a very vivid dream. And I saw two themes in the symphony. because there are really two themes that are competing one against each other along the symphony. And at the end, they are in conflict. They look like they are going to crash. But instead of crashing, they become into harmony. It's like good and evil fighting, but at the end, they reconcile. There is a conciliation. And so I had the vision that that was the final stage of spirituality, and that somehow I had to work into that conception. And cinema is the space in which we build this reality. And cinema is a stage in which we are building hate, because we see always these stories of offense and revenge. So somehow my cinematographic work and my theoretical work in cinema has been an effort to understand the ethics of cinema. And that's the title of my last production as an academic paper. It's a book about the ethics and aesthetics of cinema.
That's great, and I'm able to see a number of DVDs in front of you, and now I'm very sure that every DVD has got your breathing in it. And now tell us, what is the first project that impacted you on?
Well, my first project was into theater, let's say. Those are projects that are forgotten because they were not recorded really. And it was a great adventure, but it was a great school. Many theater plays really shaped me, prepared me finally to come into cinema. And about cinema, my first film is Poe. It won several awards and is available in the internet. And it's a philosophical reflection about life. It's a metaphysical film, so it's a very much experimental film, if you want to do it. And I did it very much under the influence of the independent filmmakers in the US, that were always reflecting about their lives. So I did the same with a very much philosophical attitude. And Warren Bass, who was the professor at that time, he was very happy about this project. And he said that it was very much under the influence of Samuel Beckett, which of course it was. And it was an experience of learning about the technology, the limitations and possibilities of cinema. And since then I have built all this theory, which I call resourceful cinema, which are techniques for production of films and videos with a very low budget according to the new technologies.
You have directed short films, you have directed films, and now tell us, what are the awards that has enriched you?
So yes, the film Poe was awarded with the Motion Picture Association Award. It was given to a student of Temple University at that time. It was a fellowship to complete the film. So I did it very professionally, and it participated in several film festivals. In the North Carolina Film Festival, the Chicago Latino Film Festival, and also in the Hiroshima Film Festival, where I had a call for presentation. But I think that at the time it was something premature. I was only 24, I had just finished my first film, and it opened a new sea of possibilities. I decided to move very much into knowing the world. I wanted to learn more about the world. I set up my mind for an adventure of learning, rather than for an adventure of fame and popularity and celebrity, which is the call that you are always tempted when you are into the artistic arena of cinema, which of course is wonderful in terms of artistic expression, but it's also a field of what a professor I had, used to call, they are chants of sirens. They attract you, but they can destroy you. And so I decided to make a classical adaptation after that, an adaptation of Hamlet. I felt at that time that I was able to do everything, because that's one of the virtues of the youth. When you are young, you are in a stage where the world offers you everything, and you have the option to decide. But you have to be very aware that once you decide something, that's your fate. You cannot come back. So at that time, I decided I'm going to move into the classical space. I'm going to move into art. I'm going to try to change cinema. I'm going to bring ethical contents. I'm going to research out the ethics of cinema, which was a field that at that time it wasn't explored. And still, I think that I'm just bringing new discussions. I'm bringing new discussions into this arena. And so I decided to do Hamlet Unbound with actors that were not professional. We went through 6 months in a period of rehearsing and through 6 months in a period of shooting. It was a very patient work, and at the end the results were very good in terms of acting and cinematography. I'm very satisfied. Of course, it is digital video, which is now accepted as a professional video, so the adventure paid off. But at the end, the problem is that I realized that cinema is also a business of celebrities. If you don't have celebrities in a film, people are not going to pay attention to that. But not only that, now with the coming of the internet, the celebrity business has become even more entrenched. And also with the invasion of so many new productions in YouTube and the competition of digital information, it's very difficult really to get into cinema, even commercial cinema today. So at the end, I think I'm very satisfied because I chose the right path, which was going into an artistic angle of cinema. And that way I can show my films from nation to nation, year after year, because they are not designed just for the fashion of a moment. They are not designed for forgetfulness, but rather for the spiritual mind, for a conversation between what I used to be as a filmmaker when I produced those films and the viewer.
A llenar el cartón antes del viernes. Dios quiera que le vaya bien.
¿Y cómo sabemos que se trata de un funeral? Esos cartones los venden por todas partes.
¿Qué cartones?
Nadie juega con la vida de sus hijos.
Papi,
¿Qué fue?
es que...
Ya pidió la palabra, Fabián. Hable.
¿Nos da 8.000 pesos para unos disfraces?
¿Es que usted cree que la plata me la encuentro por la calle?
Si es para la noche de brujas, tenemos 2 bolsas de dulces. Cada una viene con una careta.
A mí no me gusta.
¿Qué hizo?
Y ya lo había lavado.
Fue sin culpa, fue sin culpa.
Ya estaba bravo. Fue por esa rifa. Ya sé cómo conseguir los disfraces.
¿De veras?
Yo tengo 200 pesos y usted 500 pesos, ¿no?
Everybody who live have their own role models or masters. And who is that who has been your master, who has been so passionate in you?
Well, Wells, Orson Welles, of course, is a master for me. In terms of cinematography, of course, content in Wells is very dynamic and complex, but the cinematography is something particular because after the fall of German Expressionism, Wells was the only person really in cinema who took the task of always offering us a new vision in his films. Every take, every shot is something new. He wants to show us something new from the point of view of the eye, to show us that we should look at reality from all the points, from all the angles, not just from the angle I'm looking at you, or as I used to be a kid, which is called a counter angle, and all these angles you have, really, they are very standardized today in cinema. But Wells was trying to, we can see also in his films and everything, that he was caving holes in the floor to put the cameras at that time it was necessary, in order just to bring something new to the audience, a new experience. And the other person which I really admire is Luis Buñuel. He's a master of politics and religion. I like him because he includes religion in all his films, which is something that is very striking. In India, you see the heroes and the villains, they always pay attention to religion. They go to the temples and things like that. But in the West, there is a trait to conceal that. All the characters, none of them goes to the temple, none of them has religion, none of them has a god, right? Or as if it were a taboo, as if it were something so private you cannot speak about, when actually it's a fundamental part of the mind of everybody, even for an atheist. So in Buñuel's films, you see that all the characters are always thinking in terms of sex and religion, and money, of course, but especially these two elements. And I think that that's so interesting because even if you want to understand the politics of the world, the ethics of the world, you cannot leave aside desire.
Today there are so much of youngsters who have a passion for visual communication, filmmaking and short filmmaking. And what is that message that you want to tell them to set them right on the path?
Well, my message is that be aware that you cannot expect anything from whatever you want to follow but joy. That means you cannot expect, if you decide to be an actor, if you decide to be a director, and you are ready to struggle for that, don't expect money and fame and so on. Expect joy, because joy will come every day, right? Many people expect fame and celebrity. Well, sometimes it doesn't come, so they are unhappy because it doesn't come. And if it comes, good, but still, you know, you need to start something new. I think it was Van Gogh who said that, yeah, it was Van Gogh in his letters to Theo, what is success? But the false impression that we don't have to be worried anymore about something. And no, we always have to be worried or we have to be joyful. So if you want to be an artist, just follow your own blessing. Persist being an artist. Fight against the obstacles, which are just really trials trying to keep you away from your own blessing. And do it. Because, of course, I'm an artist, but for me, the artist is the main character in all society. Because he is the mediator between heaven and earth, as he was at the beginning. He's the one who inspires ideas in the men to create the world. He's the new Prometheus, right? And he comes as an inspirational force. It's not related to economics and production. It's related to the soul, to the teachings. That's why all these poets, they created the religion, because the religion is a poetic expression between God and human beings. People say, oh, religion is an invention of men. That's not true. It's an invention of the poets for the happiness of men. So if you want to be a poet of filmmaking, which is what really is, India is a country of poets, so welcome. I'm sure the world will be very happy to listen to your fire. And to all the youth who have been with us today. And of course, please watch my films at hugosantander.com. HUGOSANTAND.com.
Hey viewers, hope you all enjoyed the speech of Hugo, and he was very motivational that it enhanced our passion and referred to the hard work that leads to success. And I'm very sure you have learnt much through the experience of Hugo, and I'm sure I'll meet you with the next another great celebrity or a great successor who will enhance your potential to encouragement. Anyways, till then, take care. Bye, Lavanya.